Alex Jones and Mike Flynn have a conversation. And Mike Flynn talks about Venezuela, talks about the dangers there, talks about the deep state and what they may do using this little area. Now, Venezuela came out, not dealing with this story, but came out and stated that they have a lot of Senate and a lot of congressmen, a lot of people on their payroll. So, an intelligence agency for Venezuela is saying that they have a lot of Senate on their payroll. We have Mike Flynn saying that this could be signs of what we consider a false flag in Venezuela. We also see signs of China and Russia playing in this area. What are we actually seeing with Venezuela? Why is this a big deal? What is going on? And can it be used to hurt the Trump administration? We're going to talk about what Alex Jones and Mike Flynn just discussed and how it could play into the global agenda. I think a lot of money flowing back to our bureaucracy is actually what is causing for the demise of America, because they're looking out for themselves and not the Americans. We're going to discuss that story because it is absolutely huge. We're also going to discuss what Elon just stated. He had a great interview and he talked about UFOs. Now, he talked about it in the sense that I actually believe there are UFOs, but not what you're thinking. I love what he states here, and again, this is coming from the richest, probably the most smartest man in the world, and someone who knows, space probably better than anyone. Wait till you hear what he says, because it shows that he's on the right track. The question is, who owns the UFOs? We're going to discuss that story because it'll blow your mind. And then lastly, we're going to discuss a little bit more about what John Brennan, who should be arrested for things he did, but what he said about the CIA. This kind of goes back to the files that hasn't been released. This kind of goes back to an interview I heard with PBD and a Democrat donor. This also goes back to the fact that, just like the Venezuela saying that they pay a lot of Senate, it may just be one big gathering of bad people. And George Carlin, you say, well, it's just one big party. You're not in it. That is true. But this party, I think it's just corruption. It's just corruption. And I truly don't know if Trump and his administration can fix it for sure. It comes back down to you preparing your family. Let's dive into a lot of stories today dealing with all this and so much more. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. Again, we are humbled each and every day that you come back and watch our content. We hope that our content is something that is eye-opening, but also something that helps you say, you know what, common sense approach here and wisdom seeking. We want to take care of ourselves because we know that the government is not going to do it. And if we can say, you know what, rely on Christ, rely on what he gives you in his knowledge and wisdom, then we're going to be okay, and that is the truth. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about this Alex Jones and Mike Flynn conversation they had. I'm going to hit on a few different notes because that leads us right into the Venezuela story, and of course it goes on from there. But I want to bring this up. I thought this was really good. This is from Alex Jones. It says, General Mike Flynn warns the president that the deep state may stage a false flag and drag the U.S. into a new Vietnam-style war, which will be Venezuela. It says Trump's former national security advisor continued by saying the regime change in Venezuela is critical to cutting off China's destructive influence in our hemisphere. That if Maduro falls, Venezuela control over Cuba and Mexico will collapse, effectively securing American control of the Western Hemisphere. Now, again, let's go back and state this for the record. Venezuela, Cuba, Mexico, this is our back door. So to me, this is more important because of the damage they cause for America, because of the epidemic of drugs and trafficking that comes and has problems here in America for millions of people each and every year. So I think this is something that we should have been doing a long time ago. Now, the narco-terrorist boats, all that stuff, I'm all for Trump taking out. I don't think we need boots on the ground in Venezuela, I agree. But I think there's way more to the story. The point I want to bring up here, though, before we go into Venezuela is Mike Flynn is saying just what I think most people think when it comes to the Make America Great Again movement, is that false flags and events, black swan events, things like, remember, Kevin Hassett said this last week about the black swan events, very strange and bizarre. The more that we see things that could bring upheaval and unrest, the more we're going to see how difficult it is for Trump to actually lead. Now, if you remember yesterday's video, the Senate, Congress, no one's actually doing the Trump administration and actually helping him further what he pushed in his agenda. The Republicans are not doing it. I mean, rollback footage from yesterday and the called on hot mic situation with Trump, we're not actually getting things done. So I think that what Trump is doing is he's doing all he can when it's singularly saying as a president what he can do. The executive orders, the situation with the narco-terrorists. I think these are good moves. However, I think there's a lot more to it because of the problems that is it pertaining to, such as what ties do we have to Venezuela? Why is the trafficking ring a big deal? Well, if you remember, they just busted a former DEA agent that was tied to the cartels. They actually said that Mexico, along with Cuba, along with Haiti, and then, of course, places like Venezuela, all these areas, Colombia, these places are pretty much ran by cartels or drug traffickers or dictators, people who are in bed with them. So the problem with all the situation is it's kind of like you're facing another behemoth that I don't know if we can actually win because of the money that flows to all these people, and cartels have bought them out. I mean, that's why you have the Mexican president, who she is tied to the cartels. Everyone knows that. Now, the false flag situation that Mike Flynn is calling for is he's saying because you're willing to harm the money flow to even some of the people back in our bureaucracy, the Senate and Congress, he said, I don't think you're going to get anything passed, and I don't believe you're going to actually see things happen in the right trajectory. I think you're going to see a false flag, or you're going to see some issue that's going to make for people to go to Venezuela because they want a regime change or so. The regime change, though, I don't think is going to make it any better than Maduro. Now, I know Republicans are saying, well, we need a regime change. The person they're wanting to, quote-unquote, regime change with, I think is still tied to cartels, and I think still tied to bad players. I think what you're going to see is you have to take and destroy the whole government if that's the case. Now, I don't want to destroy the whole government. I think we can try to figure out what the best way forward is through diplomacy, hopefully, and a lot of warnings, and keep bombing up these boats. But ultimately, I think that you can't fix this problem. It's like I told you with our Congress and Senate. I don't think you can get a new president and everything's going to be great. I think the Supreme Court is having some problems. I think the judiciary has been completely infiltrated. I believe the FBI, CIA, all has been infiltrated. And I believe that the Congress and Senate do what they want to do because it ultimately benefits them and not the American people. Prime example, I want you to listen to what this Venezuelan intelligence officer just stated. He said, he was the former chief of the National Intelligence of, his name was Hugo Carvajal. And he says, we have officially released the list of U.S. senators who is on the Venezuelan list of where we gave kickbacks, millions of dollars of kickbacks. This is the dirtiness and corruption of our Senate and Congressmen. And this goes to Eli and what he says in just a little bit. But hundreds of thousands of dollars, several millions of dollars have all went back to several senators. Now, on this list, it's mostly every Democrat in the Senate. But on top of that, all your rhinos, your Bill Cassidy's, your Susan Collins, your Lisa Murkowski's, all those, every one of those people, you can just name anybody you think, Chuck Grassley, Roger Wicker, which is Mississippi Senator, all these people that are what you would consider corrupt. Guess who else is on that list? Rand Paul. Wasn't Rand Paul the one that said we need to quit bombing the narco-terrorist boats because it's against their rights? Well, we see the reason Mr. Rand Paul may be saying that is because him and Mitch McConnell and Joni Ernst and Chuck Grassley and all these other people who are on the Republican side are getting millions of dollars of kickbacks from the Venezuelan government who is drug trafficking. So basically, if we stop the narco-drug problems, then actually what we're doing is making the Senate not make millions of dollars in kickbacks. See, this is corruption at its best, people. And this is why Mike Flynn is saying this to Alex Jones, is saying, look, the reason we're going to see this false flag is because there's too much money flow back, and they're not going to cut their checkbooks. You as Americans have to suffer. But those Senate and those congressmen, boy, they got to be millionaires. So we cannot stop the lobbying. We cannot stop the kickbacks. We cannot stop the spending, even down to people like Rand Paul. Why? Money. Power. It corrupts. It corrupts. So no matter what the Trump administration wants to do, no matter what Makari and RFK wants to say about they're going to stop this, it's not stopping because there's money. And the Senate and Congress have the power to fix all this, and they choose not to. Not one agenda item has been passed from the Trump administration by Johnson or Thune. Why? Money. So what Mike Flynn is saying is this is why he believes you're going to see another Vietnam. You're going to see another false flag. You're going to see another mass casualty event. You're going to see another Black Swan event, because all things show this right here. Because there's too much money with what's going on. So if all this money's coming back, does that mean all your senators and congressmen that are getting this money from Venezuela, are they helping with the trafficking? I think this is why you'll never know the truth with Epstein. I think this is why you'll never know the truth and how infiltrated our government is with bad players. Because money and power. I want you to listen to what John Brennan, again, the guy who should be completely thrown in jail for all the things he did. I want to mention what he just said. The CIA reportedly paid individuals to spy for them. And if they ever try to stop, we turn around and blackmail them. That was according to a direct quote, former CIA Director John Brennan. That's why I believe your Senate, your Congress, your bureaucracy, your organizations, your three-letter agencies, everybody is so corrupt because either they try to be good and now they're getting blackmailed, or they realize that there's no point in fighting against machine when they can make millions of dollars themselves and take care of their quote-unquote family. What you better realize is none of these people are looking out for you, no matter how good Elon or Trump could have tried. And I know people don't like them. Look, they're not perfect. But I don't think you're ever going to fix the problem. I want you to listen to two things Elon said. Now, Elon said something that changes subjects, but on this subject here, there's a direct quote from him from the article he just read. It says, Doge cut off the money flow to the system, and the system absolutely hated it. This means that no matter what Doge tried to do, it was meant to save the money of the taxpayer. However, the leadership that's actually getting the money, the leadership that's actually making the millions, getting the money, getting the corrupted value of dollars, is they don't want accountability. Why would they want accountability? I imagine this Venezuela intelligence agency that just leaked all these names, and you can go on the list. Look, this is the list of your senators, people. That's not even all of them. Names on there, I bet you money you have a senator on there. If you have a Democrat senator or a rhino, they're going to be on that list. I bet you he better hire some security, because somehow he's going to end up, something's going to happen to him. Because you can't have two lists of all these people, including Bernie Sanders, including Rand Paul, including all these people, and say they're getting millions of dollars of kickbacks. So just think, if they're getting millions of dollars kickback from something like Venezuela, what if they're getting millions of dollars kickback for pharma? What if they're getting millions of dollars kickback from bad food? What if they're getting millions of dollars kickback from Bill Gates? What if they're getting tons of kickbacks from this? You see how this works? This is why the Senate, Congress will always rule in favor of themselves and against the American people. Because money and power. Since leadership with the Congress and Senate, since there's no term limits, since they've been passing all this and spending our money like crazy, since the social welfare programs, since the Fed has been created, since the government has gotten basically bigger and started taxing its people in World War I, since that, 1913 is when the Fed came in, when World War I was kind of around, we got away from tariffs and started going to taxation really more. Since that time, your dollar has lost 96.94% of its value. Your dollar has lost its worth. You can't blame the president for that. It is the bureaucratic class, and it's ran by people who don't care about you. They care about themselves and making themselves filthy rich, along with holding the power. That's why Mike Flynn and Alex Jones are trying to warn President Trump to stop this craziness and start calling people out. Trump did a rally yesterday, started dancing YMCA. That's the Trump that everybody wants. The one that goes and just says his mind, speaks his mind. Like, for instance, he made a comment yesterday. He said, if you can't have our values in America, if you're here and you're not contributing and you believe in us and assimilate to what we feel, get out of America. We don't want you. That is the Trump that we want. Going in front of the American people and saying exactly how Americans feel. And then calling every Senate and Congress out that's dirty. I mean, he needs to land blast them. no matter what relationship he can't win another election. Midterms looks like it's probably going to be a Democratic run because they won Miami. They're winning all these little special elections because Republicans are worthless. You know what? Trump needs to go on stage and call every one of them out. Now let's go to what Elon Musk said about UFOs. I want to bring this up because this is so important. I don't believe in UFOs. I've told you that before. I think it's all stupid. When you talk about Christianity, you talk about the Bible, you talk about the earth. I believe God created the heavens and the earth, and I believe the earth is where people are at. I don't believe there's some green goblin or E.T. is going to come here. I don't believe that. And I don't believe that most people believe that either. But I do believe that you're going to see crazy, bizarre, strange sightings. I love what Elon says here. Listen to this. And again, I'm not the biggest Elon fan, but I want you to listen to what he says here. UFOs aren't aliens. He said they're just weapons that haven't been seen yet. Katie Miller asked if UFOs count as proof of aliens. Elon said no. That's so stupid. What UFOs mean is an unidentified flying object. We've made it out to be some aliens because of movies. But ultimately, he says, all it is a new weapons program, and whatever we have seen or haven't seen is something hypersonic, something that we haven't actually put our eyes on to understand what it is. He says, so if we see the strange, bizarre happening, he said, it's probably just some major technology from another country. And to be honest with you, that's why I believe that we all have all these kind of unique things that the government is paying for and giving money to, such as in the American situation, but also Russia, China, and other big players across the world. So when we talk about UFOs, I think what people like Joe Rogan or some of these people that talk UFOs, I think they get so bogged down in the fact of E.T. phone home or, Independence Day or some kind of alien versus predator situation when all it really is the dangers of surveillance and, honestly, the dangers of war taking place here. And the war that we're not ready to face. Prime example, Pete Hegseth came out yesterday and says AI is now going to be over the military. Every military serviceman will now have AI capabilities. What we're building is a tech army, surveillance army that we cannot control and that Americans, honestly, will be a slave to. If all of a sudden you give every military man AI capabilities, and listen to this, Pentagon just did a new push for AGI. AGI it's man's version of trying to be God. It's man's version of trying to be God. This is the same AGI that Elon said he's been warning of, that we can't stop it, and that it will absolutely supersede humans and ultimately take over. And we're going to allow that to be the forefront of our military. We're going to allow that to be the forefront of our technology. Remember yesterday when RFK said that within the next 3 to 5 years that Bill Gates' his satellite, his operation with the low satellites that he's doing right now, that Congress is allowing him to do, Senate's allowing him to do, everybody's allowing him to do. He said there won't be 1 square inch not seen by Bill Gates within the next 3 to 5 years of this whole earth. And you don't believe AI and AGI and the fact that we're giving this to the military and the Pentagon, that this could come back and haunt us, especially if it's someone like John Brennan or someone like Joe Biden or someone like Kamala Harris or Zohran Mamdani in leadership? We're signing up for our own demise. We need to quit worrying about Qatar and signing agreements with them. We need to really quit worrying about everything going on with Ukraine and Russia and NATO. We need to really quit worrying about, honestly, everybody else other than our homeland and making things better for Americans. I just want to worry about defending America and not actually trying to figure out everybody else's problems. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Elon says this UFO situation, all it is, people need to quit getting so mixed up about it. It's just new technology that we have actually not identified yet that could be for our foreign country. The question is, can we make enough technology to stop it? I think that's why AI is such a big race, and I think that's why, even though people like Elon and Trump are going full head for it, I believe even though people are scared to death of what it can cause, they're scared to not be the one that's actually developing it because of the risk of what it could do to our populations. Millions of people, very, very vulnerable. I want to go to the last story that I want to talk about, and this is from Jack Posobiec. I love this quote that he did because it's very humbling, but it's eye-opening. It's kind of like the one I did with Glenn Beck yesterday. This is a clash of civilization. We're seeing more direct links between the rise of church burnings and Christian attacks in North America and Europe and the increase of Muslim migrants. The biggest problem that we're facing in our world, when we talk about corruption, we talk about the government, we talk about the senators, talk about the Venezuelan, we talk about UFOs, all this stuff. The biggest problem we have is evil. That can be the face of Muslims. That can be the face of corrupt politicians. That can be the face of drug traffickers. That can be the face of honest people who are just trying to do good things, but they do it in the wrong way. That could be the face of anyone. I think what we're facing is a spiritual war. And it's just showing exactly what the Bible tells us that's going to take place. I don't think things are going to get way easier. Now, I would love to see a time of reawakening or revival or American revitalization. That could happen. But sadly, we can't even get Congress and Senate and the Supreme Court, who is supposedly all Republican or conservative base, to even pass one agenda of Trump's. We can't get, but so far, one former Obama hired DEA agent actually arrested. All the rest are still not arrested. John Brennan's still not arrested. Comey got out because Bondi couldn't do something right. When I realized this, I watched the interview with PBD and John Morgan. And John Morgan, who's a major Democrat donor, big friends with Bill Clinton and Joe Biden and the establishment, basically. At the same time, he was good friends with Pam Bondi, too. At the same time, he knew a lot of Republicans, and he gave a lot to Republicans as well. What it shows is it's just one big game. It's just one big VIP party. And if you're not in it, you're the one desolate and being frowned upon and getting impoverished. I actually believe that's what's happening in America. And I believe it's a spiritual fight more than it is anything. Yeah, we have physical problems. Yeah, we have mental problems. Yeah, we have emotional problems. But ultimately, I think we have spiritual problems. Us getting, closer to Qatar is not a good thing. They believe in Sharia law and Muslims leadership, and Christians can't have anything or have any benefits. And we're allowing that to just infiltrate our country. We're allowing for traffickers to pay off our Senate and Congress. We're allowing for illegal immigrants just to come in here and do what they want to do, and Americans are the ones struggling. I think the biggest problem, and Jack Posobiec brought it up with the burning of the churches and the push against Christianity. I think the biggest problem is the fact of just evil. We have evil. And until we're willing to say that things may not get better, we may need to just take care of ourselves and prepare our family, it may just be that point that no politician can save us. And then all of a sudden you got AGI, which is like a concept of almost like an antichrist thing. I mean, come on. My goal and push for you, just like this video, it gets you down. I know, man. It gets me down. But it also uplifts me to say, you know what? That's why I prep. That's why I try to be independent. That's why I believe in freedom. That's why I love Jesus. And I believe that if we literally want to get through this and survive this situation and raise our children, we have to do it with Christ. And this is a spiritual war that we're facing. And until we admit to that, I don't think we'll ever, quote unquote, truly fix it or even have revival. We have to humble ourselves and realize each and every day that there's corruption and evil. And sadly, no matter if it's a RD behind their name, none of them are willing to help us because power and corruption. They love money, they love power, but it is corruptible. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. We appreciate you for watching. God bless. Be free.